I think people think I'm joking when I say something like, I'll use an AI tool, generative AI tool, and I will say, thank you, or I will say the word please when I'm making a prompt. And what people think I'm joking about is I do that just in case, it gets too smart. I want it to remember me and remember that I was nice to it.
Hi, welcome to SaaS Half Full, the only show serving B2B SaaS marketers. I'm Lindsay Roper, EVP at PanBlast. And as always, I will be both your host and bartender today. Now, you may have caught, I just called myself an EVP at PanBlast. You might be wondering what happened to Blast Media? Well, since our last episode, we had a very exciting announcement. We were acquired by Pan, a global PR agency, and are now running as a division of Pan called PanBlast. We're super excited about what's next for us, but we are continuing the SaaS Half Full podcast because we love sharing our insights with all of you. So today I have a PanBlast team member joining me to talk about the storylines that are wired and tired when it comes to AI. It's no secret that most of our clients have an AI narrative that they would like to tell externally. We help shape and formulate that narrative and then get it out to the masses. However, sometimes when we ask what their point of view is, we get a bit of a dud and need to really work on how to come up with some bold commentary or something that goes against the grain. So Jake is going to join us today and talk about, from a media standpoint, what are the topics around AI that are trending and which ones are already being left in the dust. So if you're doing any sort of external comms, this is the episode for you. We'll help you through what you should be focusing on when it comes to your AI narrative. So if you care to, grab a drink and join me as I speak with Jake, a director of customer relations at PanBlast. Hi, Jake. Welcome to SaaS Half Full.
Thank you, Lindsay. So excited to have a conversation. We've had plenty of work-related conversations over drinks, and I've got another one. So not our first or last.
Oh, this is definitely not the first drink that we've shared together. I'm in the office, so I had to go with what's in the fridge, which is a basic chick ruby grapefruit White Claw.
I love it.
Please tell me you're drinking something better.
I'm drinking a hibiscus margarita.
Look at you. Did you make that yourself?
I did. I haven't even taken a sip yet. So.
Okay. And for those of you that are just listening to this via audio, he even has is it a sugar rim, a salt rim? What is it?
Salted rim.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you joining me. Sometimes I drink alone in these, which is okay. But we're well into the PM hour, midweek. It's fine. So I'm having Jake on the show today because he wrote a blog post recently for PanBlast that turns out got a lot of views. And we thought this is a topic people are interested in. As you all know, at PanBlast, we do PR for B2B SaaS companies. And Jake, how many of our clients do you think want to talk about AI? What would you say? What percentage?
Definitely a number larger than one. I would say all of them. All of them have an AI conversation that they want to be included in or launch around.
I would agree. Even if their product or service has nothing to do with AI and has no AI in it, everybody wants a piece of the AI pie, which is a challenge for us as PR professionals because we have to figure out what makes their point of view unique. And if it's not, how do we help them through that? But before we get into the storylines that are wired in AI and those that are tired in AI, let's take a quick step back, Jake, and tell people about yourself, what your role is as Director of Client Relations at PanBlast.
Yeah, absolutely. So new title for me, but the focus remains the same. I'm just involved in overall client success. So that means I'm involved in the high level strategy conversations and also part of the tactics to make it happen. I am the person that ensures the deliverables that are going over to the client, whether it be long form content, whether it be a podcast opportunity, maps back to their business goals. And I've got a great team behind me that helps make that happen. It's a lot of fun just being involved in either the highest level opportunities or being someone that hits send on the pitches to get results for our clients.
Yeah. And we've been having conversations about AI with our clients for years. I mean, I'm trying to think back sort of the earliest conversations that we were having. I think one of your first clients with us was Veritone, which was an AI platform. And so that was how many years ago?
7?
Yeah. So, I mean, we've been having these conversations for quite some time. Can you tell our listeners the role that we play in developing an AI narrative for our clients, knowing that they really all want to participate. But what is our role in helping clients develop and formulate their AI narratives?
Absolutely. Just the point you just made about having a client when I first started here 7 years ago play heavily in the AI space means that there has been so much said about it, whether it is an announcement or thought leadership or a social post. So being a partner that has a solid vantage point of what all of our clients are saying, what the media is talking about, what their competitors are pursuing as far as media relations goes, is I think a very valuable part of our partnership. And so how that plays out in reality is maybe we're monitoring competitor coverage and bringing that up on our status calls to say, hey, here was an announcement, it secured this many placements, or hey, there is one editor and it looks like all of their last 10 stories have had an AI angle to them, and we think that they're worth pursuing. Of course, on our story mining calls, when we're actually speaking with the experts, we're actively listening, hearing what they're passionate about, digging in deeper to questions or points that maybe we haven't heard before, and seeing if it's something that they maybe could be willing to speak to media about. But being able to just be the eyes and ears for what's currently being discussed, relaying that back to our client and pushing back when maybe they want to prioritize something that we've seen time and time again and don't think it's going to get any traction.
How are you determining directionally where to push a client? Are you using a certain tool to help you see what's trending or what's on the decline? Like, how do you determine what's trending in AI?
There are plenty of tools. In regarding what's trending, just generally, there are fun tools like Google Trends that you can see and maybe do some comparison between generative AI is trending upward, ChatGPT is trending downward, which maybe helps inform the types of tools that are more widely used or understood by a more general audience. I like tools like Exploding Topics or Trendly as just resources to help call out like, hey, we're seeing a big spike in X keyword. Those are pretty niche. There are, of course, the trending toolbars for LinkedIn or Twitter that are maybe less long-term and more, hey, here's what a lot of conversation is unfolding around right now. So having that reactive opportunity to jump on it with our clients to say, hey, this is popular, let's get a quote out, or let's maybe do a quicker turnaround on a content piece for one of your profiles. Of course, there's also just a little bit of intuition. This is not necessarily AI related, but if you remember the coined phrase of like quiet quitting, I think internally we all heard that and thought, oh, that's going to be big. And so just having maybe like a little bit of more trust your gut in situations to be like, well, that's a really catchy, easily understood phrase. This is going to have some fire behind it. Maybe it's something we can jump on.
Yeah. And we also invest in tools where we can essentially put in a search term and see how many times the media has mentioned that term or what media is talking about that term, and see if it is catching fire or if it is starting to drop off, which is also helpful. Now, in an ideal world, Jake, when our clients say, we want to be part of the AI discussion, you say, awesome. What's your point of view? And what they give you is not unique. It is old. What do you do when you basically, a client lays an egg with their point of view? What do we do?
Even the example that you just shared about how we can see keywords are in the media, another resource that we use just to track competitor coverage, maybe the client is really hyped up on a narrative that we can see their competitor has already secured placements on, and we don't necessarily want to look like we're following their playbook. So of course, like saying yes in the situation, having the client talk more about it, and people are maybe a little bit more hesitant to be bolder just on their own. But if we're able to listen to this conversation, maybe run the transcript, have an internal huddle, it would be up to our team to create the bolder statement that we think maybe has media opportunities around it. And of course, there are opportunities where the client says, oh, wow, that's great. Let's go with that. I'm fully behind this. Or maybe they want to walk us back a bit. Maybe it's a little bit too spicy. But having the candid conversation of like, we've seen this before, or this is not saying enough, or maybe it's saying only the solution is what your product offers, we know that that's not going to get the impactful media placement that the client would be excited about. And maybe the statement or the point of view is solid enough on its own, but we think it needs a little bit more. And that's where we think like, okay, is there a customer story that maybe in addition to this, we can offer the CEO for their perspective. And here's a customer that's applying this approach in real time, and they'd like to talk about why they took the risk here. That's one angle. Also, we know that media love data. So either running demographic and targeted surveys for titles in retail, healthcare, what have you, or running a larger consumer survey, if we're going for a more top tier audience, are both ways to kind of strengthen our approach, provide media something new, which when we don't have news in the form of announcements, we still need that fresh take or that fresh component. Customers' data can help. Maybe the statement is good enough and we can just spice it up a bit.
Is there a example that you can give us where a client really provided you a dud when it comes to their AI point of view, and you don't have to mention the client by name, where you were able to either bolster it or sort of pull more interesting insights out of them?
At the risk of, stepping on someone's toes, I think there was a big push for the word Copilot. Every artificial intelligence platform, it felt like, I'm obviously exaggerating, loved to add the word Copilot, or it helps us do more with less. I'm already getting into what's tired and wired here, but those kind of buzzwords, they make sense. You understand at a human level, oh, I have an additional component here to help me get more work done. And if a client is really excited about that, we don't necessarily want to say no and rain on their parade. We just have to redirect, like, this is not necessarily a good angle for media, but your customers absolutely need to hear this. And maybe it makes more sense as a blog, or we could do a quick video and you could talk about this on LinkedIn because this is important for you. But if I say the word Copilot to this AI journalist, they're going to hit delete faster than you can say it. So not necessarily dud, just some things that we have heard before, and maybe they don't make sense for a media opportunity right now.
Okay, well, I know you said you were teasing the what's wired and tired a little bit, so let's get into it. We'll give the people what they want. Jake, tell us what is tired. And I want you to listen up, you SaaS marketers here, because I know that you're doing the same thing internally and you're having these conversations. And I know you're going to feel this pain when you're hit with a directive from someone and you know it's just not going to stick. So let's start with what's tired. What storylines are the media pretty much over with at this point?
Yeah. The first one that I wrote about and comes to mind is the friend or foe narrative. So whether AI is going to make life better or it is an existential crisis, I think people think I'm joking when I say something like, I'll use an AI tool, generative AI tool, and I will say, thank you, or I will say the word please when I'm making a prompt. And what people think I'm joking about is I do that just in case, it gets too smart. I want it to remember me and remember that I was nice to it. So, I understand the friend or foe narrative. It makes sense to me. What else could actually be said about the potential crisis or the, AI will help us move forward? Like, we have to be really specific if that's something that we want to run with. Just the general statement of it might be good, it might be bad is certainly not going to be enough. Even going along with the friend or foe is when we do get specific, the general statement of AI is going to increase productivity is also something that maybe your customers really need to hear because they're super overworked. We have like a legal tech client and lawyers are drowning in paperwork. The point of this will help you do more with less is something, again, that maybe your customers need to hear, but do more with less is such an overused phrase that I would venture to say even your clients or even your customers aren't sure how to necessarily navigate that anymore. So being specific as best you can. And if you have a customer that proves why they took the risk, how they're testing it, how they're planning to scale this, or any results that they have seen so far, is a much stronger narrative for you than promises that look from the outside like they could be empty or over-promising and potentially under-delivering.
No, I completely agree because it's a fact. It can be true that AI can make us more efficient, but it's almost like these stages of fear and then acceptance, we've moved on. So there's not as much robots are taking over the world, which was the initial narrative a couple years ago. Moved on from nope, it's here to stay, and it's going to make us more efficient. So now it's like, what's that next wave of? It's not should we, it's how can we? But it's true to your point that it can make us more efficient, but we've moved on from that. We being the media, they're looking towards what's next and what's that. Is it integration? Is it acceptance? So friend versus foe and productivity and efficiency, those are tired trends. Are there any other tired trends that you wanted to highlight?
I would much rather talk about what is working right now. And one of the best ways that we have seen AI stories come to fruition at this point is either providing the technical insight you need to get this actually up and running and being successful. And this, I think, is maybe a little bit more different of when like the thought leader is involved and when the subject matter expert at your organization is involved. Because while the thought leader could be the subject matter expert, they're maybe a little bit more bold and visionary. And I need the person that knows exactly what they're doing to guide me throughout this process, walk me through the technicalities or understanding maybe some complex words that I don't know how to spell yet, to be able to really implement this in my organization. And honestly, you're going to get pretty niche in that approach, whether you're talking with retail or healthcare. But the specifics there, I think, are really important. And that could still be a media placement for you. I think media are looking for those instructional, how do I actually make this happen moments.
And so, Jake, for most of our clients, just for sake of clarity, the thought leader is typically maybe a CEO, founder, where broad strokes talking about AI and maybe implications. And then a subject matter expert would be somebody like a VP of engineering, or it could be maybe a chief data officer if you have one, but someone more on that technical level. Is that a good delineation?
Yeah, absolutely. I think we use the word spokesperson a lot, and we assume that the person being a spokesperson may fit all of these boxes. And so our team's understanding of the best type of talk tracks for our spokespeople, and whether they are the technical expert, the subject matter expert, or they're more that bold visionary speaker, is something that we navigate. And maybe there's overlap throughout all of these. It's really going to be a case-by-case basis. But having a CEO figure be the person that really walks you through the technicalities is often not the best spokesperson for that situation.
And you're right in that sort of technology being what's next on exactly how. If you look at even like South by Southwest and sort of last 3 years, how they've tackled AI, it's followed along that friend versus foe. Then, okay, we accept it. What are the efficiencies, productivity, implications? And then I had insight from someone who's part of the panel pickers for this year South by Southwest. And that person told me that what they're really looking for in the AI track is more technical sessions. So like what you're saying is following along that same journey, even when you look on a broad scale, like something like South by Southwest.
I was at South by when they played the videos about the future of AI, and I heard the boos from the crowd that I wasn't expecting, because my world in working with clients is a lot of excitement about AI. And so bringing that experience back to clients and letting them know if they make statements about the future of work or the positive benefits here, it may not always land as they're expecting, because there is some uncertainty for the person doing their job and wondering, am I still going to be here? Are you still going to need me? And honestly, again, like that's an opportunity for the more wired narrative of providing that real example of how work can be better. Because a CEO saying, this is going to change everything, it's going to make work better, is one thing. Having the marketer, the email marketer, or the developer say, actually, I still have my job, I'm doing so much more, and I'm being successful, is going to resonate much more, even on that point with developers. Developers want to hear from developers. They don't want to hear from a CEO. And being involved in their community, speaking their language, and kind of understanding what's capturing their attention is important for our team to acknowledge.
All right. So what's wired? First thing you said was being more technical. What else?
Yeah, being data driven and showing either the results clearly and the true benefits of AI, or providing that fresh new pool of data, whether it's that demographic survey that I had called out or the consumer survey. Again, having something beyond statements and backing it up with a bold or provocative question that is fun to kind of develop together is what I would recommend for really any PR program. But again, when we talk about the 7 years that I've worked at Blast, how AI has been an initiative for most of my career here, having the data backing to prove that this is a worthwhile story is really necessary.
Yeah, and that's an interesting sort of next step in the AI journey is it's like we've had enough time passed for the clinical trials that now we have the success stories that we can show that this, patients that took this for this long now experience this as a result. There's been enough time that has passed that the organizations that have either been building or using AI have enough time with it to show the benefits versus just talk theoretically about what they think may happen if they use AI. I've also seen a lot of stories more around more the ethical implications and sort of governance. Have you seen that as a trending topic, or is that something that you think is on its way out?
I think it goes back to just being niche as well, like focusing on a new regulation or a new update specifically and what the implications are that, because all of this is like with the rise of generative AI, it is new. There's a lot of words like large language models that have become more common vernacular that people aren't fully sure of. So if you can go niche and focus your talking points or your point of view on something that you're seeing is more prevalent, but the larger audience just needs a little bit more education on, again, that's like another opportunity to go niche and have the unique placement rather than a vague statement about the future.
If you can think back over the last year, what's a client campaign that you feel like was really strong that centered around an AI narrative, and why was that successful? What were some of the components? And the more specific you can get, the better. Again, you can or can't mention the client's name. That's up to you.
Yeah, we were working with two different clients that had AI be a pillar initiative. One of them working in pharma and high tech, and every year they release a revenue report. So this report is for revenue leaders. They are surveyed the main takeaways about what to expect for the year ahead, where investment is going, the technological considerations, challenges, opportunities is what that report is about every year. This one in particular asked a lot of questions about investment in AI. And again, that's like a business story that works great and provides like expertise with the title, the caliber of people that were surveyed. So it's niche. It's a business storyline that's not necessarily mapping back to our client's direct product line. So there's some vendor neutrality there that helps us work with editors. That type of take is one that we saw a lot of success with. The other is in working with a Forbes contributor. They were very clear that this cannot be a advertisement. So while they interviewed the CEO to unpack the need the company was targeting, why it's important for now, any early results they are seeing overall at large, and what it means for their industry, which is marketing more generally, was the talk track that the interviewer wanted specifically for the CEO. They also asked for 2 client examples. And again, they ran through, please walk me through the selection process. There are so many different tools available. Why did you choose this one? Who's involved with it? What success have you seen so far? So the expectation that your CEO is the only spokesperson here is probably not the best approach. Like, media are going to need a few different people to connect with in order to develop the story. Because again, no earned media opportunity wants to read like an advertisement. So again, it's that data story and packaging it as a formal report, I think was really successful here. Doesn't always have to be a formal report. And then having multiple spokespeople that can all address their needs, how you're scaling, and what it means for the future more generally.
And Jake, what are you most excited about in the world of AI? And this can be as broad or as narrow of an answer as you want.
I consider myself an artist, and the applications for art, I think, are really exciting. We see a lot of like video creation tools or visuals that either are just fun for you to experiment with and try out, or maybe those could be visuals that we can add to strengthen our story, and we can provide journalists with imagery to make a more visually appealing storyline. I am excited about those. The concerns that are currently around AI and in artwork, again, go back to that point about ethics. What is the material that you're using to create these? And whether we're talking about art or the content that is kind of built out when you put in a prompt. Like the ethics of navigating that are certainly going to be addressed soon. And it's going to be really interesting to how it plays out. But as an artist, like there are so many capabilities ahead of us. And once we can figure out how to use it ethically so that other people's artwork is not stolen or used inappropriately, that's going to be really game changing for all of us, which will of course ripple into the other ways that media, which is a very visual format right now, can improve and change over time.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, ethics, compliance, bias, those are all topics that continue to be talked about. Jake, is there anything that we didn't discuss on this topic that you want to make sure that we tackle today?
I know that I've said multiple times here that we've talked about AI for 7 years. We are absolutely going to talk about it for 7 more. I did not expect generative AI when it came crashing towards us, but figuring out the fun ways that our clients are solving problems and ways that we can secure like those exciting placements that everyone involved can be excited about is going to be great. This is not, when I say things are tired and wired, I don't mean for that to be the end all. Like we're going to have so many more conversations in the future to look forward to. And always remember to say please and thank you when you're using a tool like this, just in case.
I do the same thing. And it's actually, I laugh because you're doing it intentionally. Like I want, if it comes down to it, I want them to remember I'm nice. Mine's not even intentional. That's just what I do. I found myself saying please and thank you to a bot, and I'm going to own it. It's fine.
That's the Midwest hospitality in us to just generally say it.
Probably. Yeah, probably. We should do this again next year, Jake, and revisit and see where we are. If the wired trends, my assumption is they're going to be old news and there's going to be new trends emerging. So we should definitely do this again next year and revisit it. Well, Jake, I ask all of my guests this question to end our episode, which is, do you have a favorite or signature toast to send us out?
Always. I always say to new beginnings, which to your point, we'll do this in a year. We'll see what's changed and it'll be new beginnings at that point.
Absolutely. To new beginnings.
Cheers.
Thanks again to Jake for joining me on SaaS Half Full. Hopefully you took a couple things away on how to shape your AI narrative. We'll revisit this again in a year because surely what is wired today is going to be tired by this time next year. But I appreciate you tuning in. And until next time, bottoms up.